Hey everyone, my name's Alicia. I'm an alcoholic. Wow, it's really great to be here. Better. Thank you for asking me to speak. I haven't been to a lot of open meetings in person, so it's really good to see a lot of people that I know and I love who have helped me along this journey. I have been through this process. I've done the work. I continue to do the work. Sometimes better than other days. But I'm absolutely committed to it because this has changed my life. So we were just reading the promises, and I got teared up. That hasn't happened to me in a while. And listening to everybody share and speak, read this particular part of the work, 8 and 9, brings me back to so much of who I was, right? I did not think that I was a tornado. My poor ex-husband was. Seriously, I signed up, I'll give you a case in point. Talk about denial. Denial goes so deep. We wanted marriage counseling, couldn't afford it. A counselor said to us, well, there's a program where the woman has an alcohol problem and, you can go for free. It's a year study. And the partner is not an alcoholic, whatever. And I thought, okay, we'll go to it because it's free. Not even thinking about the idea that I had the problem, right? And as we went, and we had to make this big commitment to it. It was right here at AdCare, I think. And it took a while. It was like an application, everything to get in. And when we met in a couple of sessions, and she started honing in on my drinking, I got so offended. And I said, wait a minute, we're not here because of me. Like I honestly believed we were not here because of me, He's the problem. He has always been the problem. And that's how I saw it. I could not see, my denial was so strong, I could not see that my fears were running the show. And I love how they open this up when it says, we've made a list of persons that we have harmed. So the mechanics for me, right? I had to go through the first 7 steps, right? Before I could actually start making this list. It's not enough to just say, oh yeah, I'm gonna come in, I put the drink down, I'm gonna run around and start telling everybody I'm sorry because guess what, I got the answer, I'm an alcoholic, and this is the problem, I'm not, That's not the point of this work. The point is to change. Alcohol was a symptom, and it took me a long time to really understand that. I think part of that was shame. I didn't want to be different. I thought I was going to be labeled. I thought that being the youngest out of 6, when they were always pointing the finger at me, that this was going to give them, the ability to say, see, and I wasn't going to have any of that. I didn't know I had so much fear, doubt, and insecurity in myself because I was shut down. I was disconnected from feelings, and it was a survival tactic, really, for many years. And so coming in and having any sort of finger pointed at me, I didn't know, but shame would just envelop me, right? And I would feel less than, and that's why it was always that deflection. So I had done the step work. I had done step work a lot of different ways. This is the stuff, and this is why I'm so passionate about this particular process being basically the Hyannis format, is that it was so in-depth that it says that we made a list of all persons we have harmed. We made it when we took inventory. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. That means I got to get honest. I got to really look at it. I got to accept myself, right? I got to accept all that stuff that I thought I neatly tucked away, put under the carpet or under my front seat, whatever it was, and I wear big shoes so that you wouldn't have to look at it, and big hair and all that stuff. And I learned to play the game really well. So getting to this point, I'll tell you, when I first came back this time around, I had been sober many years ago for about 4 years, and I'd done some step work, but it did not have that depth and weight. It didn't change me. I was just putting down the drink. I had no idea. And I had another I actually had an eating disorder that I was not dealing with. So when they say putting down, it actually says in the book, like a man's brain should be cleared before it can hear a message. That means everything. That doesn't mean like, okay, I'm going to be smoking pot over here or doing this over here. I mean, we're talking, let's get honest. Let's get freaking honest. Like, I've got to get honest. I've got to get honest, and I got to trust somebody with my stuff. And when I was led through, the first sponsor I had, I've had 2 big book sponsors. The first one, what a gift. I needed her exactly at that moment. Every time I talked to her, I'd call her up, want to tell her about my problems while I was writing. She'd say, keep writing, you know, where's God in all this? And I'm like, I don't know, he's up there scratching his head. Like, I don't know where he is. I'm asking you to tell me, you know? And keep writing. It was so annoying, you know? And but I did. I did because I wanted to get down to the understanding of myself. And thank God I did. These promises, when I came in, when I would read these promises every day, and I think that's why I get so emotional about it, because I didn't know what that new freedom really looked like, right? I didn't know what it meant to not have financial fear. It's different. My understanding of all of that is very different. I'll get into that later, but than what it was back then. But those are the things that gave me hope to kind of keep going and give this a shot, not knowing what was going to happen, which today I understand is what faith is about, right? Is not knowing what the outcome's going to be, but walking through it anyways. But I need people in this program to help me with that. So when looking at myself and then really uncovering what those fears were, right? And then understanding what the word harm really meant. It doesn't mean like I'm gonna, you know, this is, anyways, my first, I got ADD, so I'll jump around, so bear with me. Anyways, my first sponsor got me through the writing, and I got to this point, and she said, okay, make a list, go out and make an amends so I can get you speaking, basically, she said. And so I did, and I went to my mom, first one, and it's so amazing how God works, right? My mother and I had she passed 2 years ago. We had a really tumultuous relationship. And, when she died, I was still so pissed at her. I was so pissed. Because now I'm not going to ever have that relationship that I wanted with her. I don't even know if I wanted it most of my life, but... And when I sat down, and it was like, they talk about it, are we willing to go to any length? Yeah, okay, so I'll start with my mom. And I thought to myself, okay, God, you know what? I'm meeting her at Dunkin' Donuts. What this basically says, by the way, is that we really should ask permission. This part of the work is so important. You have to work with a sponsor. I had to work with a sponsor and get some serious direction on this. Because when I made my list, I thought I was like the worst person in the world. I was just going to go out and tell everybody I suck, you're right, whatever, I'm sorry, right? That's not what it's about. So we sat down. This is when I started working with my second big book sponsor, because she was more directive, and it was just what I really needed. We sat down, showed her my list, and I'd go off the name, say what it was, and she'd say, okay, write a D, meaning direct amends, L for living amends, F, financial amends, etc. And anyways, I had, prior to meeting with her, though, I had made the amends to my mom, and I said, okay, God, I didn't know that I was absolutely supposed to secure their permission first, right? So I was on my way. I'm like, Mom, let's meet for coffee. Okay, we'll go to Dunkin' Donuts. And I kept saying, all right, God, if somebody's sitting in the table next to us, that means that I am, it's not the right time to make the amends, so I'm not going to do it, right? And so sitting down, and somebody's sitting there, and I'm like, oh, great. This is, so whatever, we're chit-chatting away, and then the person left. And I was like, oh, shit, right? And so then I said, hey, Mom, I'm sober now, and then somebody else comes sit down, right? And I was like, oh, good, I'm not, yeah, it's been going great, like I totally avoided, I thought I, evaded that. And then they got up and they left, and I was like, all right. And I said, Mom, look, I want to make an amends, the other part of this is, too, I was a blackout drinker. A lot of it I don't remember. I don't. But what this work is showing me, what my work, my inventory showed me, was my selfishness, my inconsideration, the way that I kept them worrying, never even think. I honestly did not. I was the youngest of 6, right? By the time I came along, they were just playing golf, right? And everybody was like, I basically raised myself, and And I thought, she didn't care. So I sat down with her, I started saying, I'm really sorry for the way that I treated you, keeping you worrying. And she said, oh, you know how they are. Honey, it's all right. Or Alicia, it's okay. I just was never sure you were going to come home alive. I was floored. I was floored, right? I honestly I didn't even think she thought that. Like, I really didn't think. That's how shut down I was. That's how disconnected I was from my feelings. I couldn't have compassion for other people, so I couldn't understand how people could even have compassion for me. And by the way, that has taken a long time, right? I celebrated 13 years, thank you, like in May, and I'm just saying, I'm just making this momentum, right? I started this work 5 years sober. Finished it at 5 years sober. It's taken me a long time to kind of break that down and to start getting in touch with those feelings. This part of the work was the thing that really started helping me see it. Other amends that I made, I had a friend from high school that I made an amends to. I was not, first of all, the person that went out in the first week and made amends to everybody, right? And thank God I didn't do it. I couldn't. I didn't feel it. Today I moved with the Spirit. And when I'm feeling it is the right thing, not using that as an excuse to not do things. So it took me a couple years, really, to really get through a lot of this stuff. One of the girls that I had met with from high school, I sat down, we started talking, and I said, geez, I wanted to apologize for the situation down at the Cape where I was drinking all night. She wanted to go home because she had to work the next day. I'm like, screw that, the guy's over here, whatever, and yada, yada, yada. And we had gone down in, high school, we used to hit the Cape all the time on the weekends. And I really put her in a position where she could almost get fired, right? And I didn't care. It's no big deal. It's all right, you get another job, right? Like, in consideration, really in consideration. She said to me, Alicia, do you remember that night we were at the Cape? And we were waiting for it. We didn't know where you were. You came home the next morning, and I swear to God, right? This is the stuff. It's like, oh my God. This is the stuff that broke through my denial. She goes, you showed up the next day. All your jewelry was gone. Half your clothes were missing. You came rolling in, right? And you didn't know where you were. Here I am my whole life thinking that I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a problem with booze. It's my ex-husband. Like, I'm not kidding, right? This is, and it took this work. It took an honest to God look at myself. It took getting even to this point to hear these things, to be like, holy crap, and to hit me to a point where I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. So it says a couple times in this book, remember, we agreed to go to any length to do this work, right? Why? Because of that. It's because of that stuff. And if I am going around and I'm making amends superficially because I think that's what I'm supposed to do, then that's not the point. I had to, because it says, right? I'd say sorry all the time. It doesn't make a difference unless I'm willing to change. I can go around, and the thing is, who am I really fooling? Because you can't bullshit a bullshitter, right? But I'm in sales, and I'm really good, I've always been good at lying and showing the picture. I can lie to anybody, and I can paint the prettiest picture that you want to see. But I know, if I am hiding something today, there's something wrong. If I can't be honest about something today, I'm not saying this work is easy, and that's why it's in this part of the book. It's after the inventory. It's after, establishing a relationship with God, starting, and your sponsor in a tribe, basically, right, that are doing the same thing, and they're trying to get us. It doesn't mean I do this perfectly, trust me. Those fears are, like, way, developed, and they take a lot of practice and a lot of work to kind of change that mode of thinking. I don't ever want to go back. That doesn't mean I won't. It doesn't mean I won't. This work is, it's miraculous, and I think the thing is that, I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but I'll end with this, is that The spiritual life is not a theory. It isn't for me, for this alcoholic, for this addict, because if I'm not at least really trying wholeheartedly, even with all my warts and all, if I'm not wholeheartedly trying to do this or live this life, I put myself at risk, right? I put myself at risk to act out in some way, which eventually leads out to, I know, alcohol, because I relapsed for 18 years and I barely made it back. And I don't want to go there again. I'm just going to reread these promises because, honest to God, this is, and the nuts and the bolts of it for me. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we are amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We won't regret the past, nor will we wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and will gain interest in fellows. Self-seeking will slip away, and our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. That, for me, is absolutely the truth. Even though when sometimes I can't see God working in my life, I know He is. And that is what faith in this work is, where that has brought me. And I'll be forever grateful. So that's it for me. Thank you.